Hello everyone and a happy new year. Welcome to another round of Murdock's Music Minutes. Let's see if I can keep up the pace of one video every 2 weeks. We shall see. So far, most of the stuff I've talked about and reviewed here was rather gentle, very well behaved, so why not get loud and dirty this time? Shall we do it? This album review contains LSD, queer Latin, and possibly proto-heavy metal. Bam! Yeah, let's open the garage and get deaf. I am talking about a legendary acid rock, heavy garage blues rock outfit this time. And in case you've never heard of Blue Cheer, let's do a quick band history first. Blue Cheer were a trio from California where they were founded in 1966 by bassist and vocalist Dickie Peterson. He recruited an old mate from a former band and Lee Stevens on guitar. The band name apparently came from a special type of LSD that was popular in the San Francisco area. Hey, we're talking late 60s here. After a short time as a sextet, they decided to stick to a more basic trio sound, influenced by bands like Cream and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. The band made an impression in the West Coast scene with their loud and guitar-heavy sound, and it didn't take them long to secure a record contract. Their aggressive, noisy cover of the Eddie Cochran classic Summertime Blues almost reached the US top 10, and soon after, in early 1968, the band released what was to become a legendary milestone of bluesy acid rock and several heavy genres that followed. Their debut album, Vincebus, Eruptum. The Latin lessons book tells us that Vincebus Eruptum isn't proper Latin, and accordingly there is no real satisfying translation for the album title. But if we are very generous with the Latin grammar, it could mean something like breaking free from the chains, or we will overcome the outbreak. Well, an outbreak of noise to endure for the listeners, the music on this debut certainly was in 1968. You get the blues rock from Cream and the wah-wah pedal attacks of a Jimi Hendrix Experience, but all this played with a brute primitivist force, basic musical skills, and just a lot of volume. Call it acid rock, call it early stoner rock, or heavy garage punk. The band's most important contribution to the history of rock opens with their noisy, brutal rendition of Summertime Blues. The 50s classic has spoken to teenagers across the generations, and in the 60s had already become a live staple of the legendary Who, for example. Their admittedly quite overdriven version, however, sounds relatively elegant and virtuoso in comparison to Blue Cheer's heavy-handed and fuzzy recording. The trio's music is raw, basic, and it has a certain primal production value that at first does not really elevate it above the sheer number of garagey acid rock bands that released low-budget recordings in the late 60s. But what was probably special about Blue Cheer was how uncompromisingly they approached their material. There is a relentless energy at work on this album, coupled with the joy of creating noises and feedback on the electric guitar that was even rare among the countless bands playing similar heavy blues rock. Summertime Blues, although not an original, stands as Blue Cheer's calling card.
A bottle working on summer just to try to earn a dollar. But Lord, I tried to call my baby, I tried to get a date. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do. Lord, there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
Rock Me Baby, the next song, is a ramshackle blues rock jam with lots of fuzz guitar wailing. It is based on B.B. King, but I'm not sure if he himself would have recognized it. The drumming on this track is decidedly sloppy and primitive. Help Me Doctor, which is already the last track on side 1, is an intense plea for painkillers. It's actually quite astonishing how you can make a completely tuneless 7-minute acid rock jam appealing. Although it is still clearly rooted in blues tropes, this track arguably is an early blueprint for noise rock. Out of Focus, another original, opens side 2, another merciless, pounding acid rocker. It's a very druggy, heavy-handed song. Apparently, the Hells Angels dug this band. Parchment Farm, written incorrectly, is a noisy jam over the blues classic by Mosey Allison. It is the fastest song on the album, and I quite enjoy its brute sound, although one has to admit it is a kind of glorification of femicide.
Parchment Farm. I've been sitting over here on a parchment farm. I've been sitting over here on a parchment farm. Ain't never done nobody no wrong, no.
And if your ears aren't burning enough by now, track 6 and the closer, second time around, makes sure that this is actually the 6th time around the album dishes out that noisy, fuzz guitar-drenched acid blues rock with primitive drumming and caveman fills on the toms. This certainly gives you everything you need to know about acid rock from the late 1960s. With only 6 songs, this debut album comes to an end. Its furious sound makes one tolerate the technical shortcomings of the band, and Vincebus Eruptum, while not really heavy metal, certainly can be considered one of the first true hard rock records. It peaked at number 11 in the US Billboard charts, which I think is quite remarkable actually. In my opinion, an important milestone in the development from psychedelic rock to heavier forms of rock music, even though the whole album and production have got an amateurish sound to it. You should listen to Vincebus Eruptum at least once in your life if you are a rock fan. It's not an album I feel like listening to frequently, I have to say, but it's a great historical document. So check it out if you like it bluesy and noisy. And that's it from me for today. Stay tuned for more Murdock Music Minutes.